If you'd like to be able to listen to the show without ads and have full access to bonus content, that's an option. To find out how, please go to dogmanencounters.com/podcast. Tonight's guests are Jake and Aiden. Jake and Aiden, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your time. Jake, please, you go first and give us a brief bio on yourself.
Alright, well, I don't know how really to start, but I grew up, I guess, in Chicago, the Chicagoland area. My parents are from Lithuania, so I'm Lithuanian, I speak Lithuanian, I'm fluent. Growing up, me and my family, we used to go hiking quite a lot. Definitely sort of like in the Indiana, Michigan part of the Great Lakes, not so much in Chicago, but, that was definitely something we enjoyed. I've been, kind of all around New Mexico, Nevada, California, Washington, all this just kind of hikes. So I definitely used to spend a lot of time outdoors and stuff like that. Now I'm here, I've moved to New York, go to school in upstate. I enjoy to cook, I enjoy hiking, as I said, camping. That's all I can think of. I don't know.
No, that's a good bio. Really good job of summing it up. How about you, Aiden?
I am from Vermont, and I grew up in the woods very much so. Like, always, every summer, camping with my family. And when I got older, our parents sent us to a summer camp. And my sister and I always loved anything, like, not proven by science necessarily, I would say. Like, we love to go out in the woods and ghost hunt. We loved to just mess around in the woods, have fun, run around, discover new things. And it definitely still hasn't changed. Whenever we're home, still, she's like, oh, Abby, let's go out to the big rock. Let's do this, let's do that. And we have a lot of fun doing that kind of stuff. Yeah, like I said, even still, I'm always in the woods. But at college, I'm not as much.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's understandable. That's how it normally is. It sounds like you two spend a lot of time in the woods. You've spent a lot of time in the woods, so the answer to this next question is probably a resounding yes, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Aiden, before you two had that encounter that we're going to talk about tonight, had you heard about Dogman? Did you know what they were?
Not in a way that I can remember it. It's definitely possible that I had heard about Dogman just in my life, but I didn't make any connection to it. I remember my parents always comforting us by, whenever we'd be scared of the woods, by telling us that, there's nothing out there, and all of those things exist in other states, but not in Vermont. Which, of course, in hindsight is definitely not true. But, at the time, it definitely soothed me, and so it was definitely something I believed growing up.
Wouldn't it be nice if what she said was true?
Yeah.
Yeah. It really would be. How about you, Jake? Did you believe in Dogman? Did you even know about Dogman before you had that encounter?
I definitely, had no clue about Dogman. Like I said, my parents were Lithuanian, so they kind of believed in these kind of superstitions and stuff like that, and they used to tell me kind of these, stories of, things they have there and things that they heard about growing up. But, when I heard that as a kid, I just thought they were stories and nothing else. But, now after our encounter, I'm thinking, there might be a little bit of truth to them. But, yeah, but I was never, I would say, kind of like Aiden, really into kind of the whole ghost hunting or these types of kind of supernatural things. Not that I've just kind of always been a skeptic, I guess. Not that it wasn't kind of a concrete no or a concrete yes. It was just kind of maybe there's something out there, maybe there's not.
You know what's ironic about how you laid that out? Not to put words in your mouth, but it sounded to me like you're kind of hinting at the idea that since you're from Lithuania, then it would be expected that you wouldn't have known about Dogman. Well, the ironic part about that is you've got Dogman in Lithuania as well.
Really? Has there anyone ever been on the podcast from
No one on the podcast from Lithuania, but no, encounters happen in Lithuania and Russia. I've literally spoken with eyewitnesses from, I'm pretty sure, every continent except Antarctica.
Wow.
Yeah, they're all over, they really are. Aiden, your encounter happened at an abandoned campsite on a foggy night. Holy cow. How much worse do you think that made your encounter?
It definitely made things a lot more. We were a lot more on edge just because we weren't as aware of our surroundings. On a clear night, we would be able to see like tens of feet into the woods. Probably would have been like a brighter night than it was because without the fog. So not having those senses, like not being able to see as much, definitely made us a little bit more on edge than either of us usually are since we're so experienced with the woods.
Yeah, if you're looking for a good site for a creepy werewolf novel, I can't think of a better one than an abandoned campsite on a foggy night. Like I said, holy cow. Now, having said that, Jake, I know you had been to that campsite before the night that you two had that encounter, but how about you, Aiden? Had you been there before?
Actually, I hadn't been there. It was Aiden who had been there before.
Oh, I got that backwards. Okay. If that's the case, had you ever been there before?
No, that was my first time when we went together. That was my first time just in Vermont in general. And who knows if I'll go back now.
Yeah, I can understand why. Do you know how long that campsite had been abandoned, or do you describe it as being abandoned just because no one was there at the time?
It was a campsite that my family went to a lot when we were kids, but we ended up choosing a different one when I was around 11. And I'm 21 now, so that I would say 10 years at the absolute most it's been abandoned, but I'd say probably 8 or 7 years. And it was a lot of those like main houses, like, the entrance where you check in, those kind of buildings, boards obviously gone, graffiti, that sort of stuff.
What a shame. And that pretty much happens all over whenever you have a place like that that's not carefully watched. Since you had been there so many times before with your family, Aiden, any of those prior times, did you ever notice anything off when you were there?
Not like definitely seeing things, but always getting those feelings that something might be around the corner at any time. Just being on edge, and I think I, as a kid, would attribute that a lot to my sister and I running around looking for ghosts and stuff like that. But there are definitely times where we wouldn't be doing that kind of stuff, where I would be in a tent and I'd be convinced that there was something right out there.
There might have been. That's the frightening part.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If you've had a Dogman encounter that you need help dealing with, or if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. If you've had a Bigfoot sighting and would like to be a guest on one of my 2 Bigfoot podcasts, please go to mybigfootsighting.com. Jake, how long had you two known each other before you had that encounter?
Honestly, pretty recent. I would say, like for a good half a year almost. So we met pretty recently. Yeah, like around, I would say a little bit less than a year. So honestly, not for too long, but we became quick friends just because we both kind of like the outdoors. None of our other friends really like it about us. That's kind of, I feel like, how we definitely bonded and stuff like that.
A lot of mutual friends.
Yeah, mutual friends too, a lot. So I guess it was just bound to happen,
Yeah, it sounds like it. Did you meet at school or some other way?
Yeah, through school. We both were in some of the same classes, and then, we just kind of naturally got to talking and meeting,
Oh, I see. Well, that worked out well. Alright, guys, please take your time now. Tell us about your encounter. Give us every last detail that comes to mind.
Okay, well, I guess I'll start. So, basically, our encounter happened in Vermont, in Rutland County. So, basically, we just kind of decided, well, Aiden needed to go back to Vermont just to get their car inspected. So I thought I'd tag along because I've honestly kind of just always wanted to go, to Vermont. I've heard it was beautiful. So we decided to take kind of like a weekend trip away. And we were staying in Rutland County, and just one night we just decided to go kind of for a hike outside at night. Like we said, we kind of I guess wanted to spook ourselves out. Who knew we were gonna end up seeing that? But the campsite, what was it was definitely a good few miles away uphill from the main town, or like where we were. Um, and before we left, we had no idea about the fog that was going to be, because down on where we were there was no fog, and when we drove up, it was definitely a super foggy night, and we kind of just had headlamps, and that's it. Um, when we started walking, it was kind of a little trail, like a stone gravel trail, just leading up to what is, I guess, used to be the campsite, or kind of now like the remains of it. And then from there, there's kind of, a place where you can kind of go uphill that's kind of like off the beaten path, I would say. It's not really like I wouldn't say it's like a designated area, but it's probably some people have gone through it because it's kind of over cleared out. So we're going up, and I would say in total, how much we walked was probably from the car would have been 2 to 3 miles. So it was quite a bit away. And we basically started walking up the hill, and once we got to the top where there was a bit of a clearing, I would say, basically Ada needed to go relieve themselves. So I kind of, took a few steps back and turned around, so she could do her business. And well, you came running to me basically after, you said you heard something. What did you say? It was like a...
When you're in the woods and you hear a chipmunk or something around, you can tell that it's small. But you can definitely hear like the mass that was shifting through the woods. And at any point, if you hear something like big behind you that you can't see, it's definitely a reason to freak out. And so I got up and I ran straight back to Drake.
Yeah, so she basically came running to me, and obviously I jumped a little bit. I was like, what's wrong? But she basically said, yeah, there was something big in the forest. But at first I was like, like maybe it's just like a fox or something, or just something where you just heard something, because obviously, when it's like foggy and it's dark, sometimes you just hear things, or you think you heard something, but there's nothing there. So at first I kind of brushed it off, but I was definitely like suspecting something, because like I said, when you've been in the woods, you kind of know things, and you kind of can feel things out. When it's just like nothing, and when there's something there. But yeah, then basically we were like, all right, let's just go. And we're about to turn around, or we turn around, and then that's when we definitely both heard something. Now, I can't really tell you if it was like a branch breaking, or kind of like a sweeping foot in like leaves or something like that, but it was kind of like just a loud kind of noise in the woods. And we kind of turn around, and we have obviously our headlamps on, and that was kind of our only source of light. And through the fog, I would say at around 10 to 15 feet away, that's when we saw the Dogman. And at first we didn't, well, I guess I'll get into that later, but what we saw at least was that we definitely saw the head of the Dogman and kind of these broad shoulders and the start of like almost a chest. We could see that clearly kind of above the fog. But then we definitely could see the outline of like kind of the upright body between the fog, but we couldn't see it super clearly. But we could definitely see it because we had the lights, and we could see like how tall basically it was. So I would describe it as definitely having kind of light eyes and shorter kind of hair. I wouldn't say it was really long, kind of shorter hair around the face, and kind of a longish snout. But basically when we saw that, like I said earlier to you, we kind of just stopped and stared at it for a good, well, it felt like maybe a minute, but like I said, it could have been just a few seconds. But we kind of stopped and stared, and we didn't say anything. We didn't really look at each other. And it kind of looked at us with this most interest, like confusion,
Curiosity.
curiosity. And it seemed to maybe take a step forward, and that's when we just both ran. We just both started running, and honestly, I don't think we stopped running until we got to the car. And it was kind of like we didn't even say anything to each other. We just kind of ran to the car, and that's it. And at first, when we got into the car, it was maybe a good few minutes of silence until we were both kind of like, "Hey, that wasn't a wolf," you know, right? Like I'm not the only one here who didn't think that was a wolf, right? You know, we both were like, "That's not what we saw." You know, at first we kind of both didn't want to say anything, just be like, "Okay, like feel it out. Did this other person see the same thing?" But yeah, we both kind of like talked about it. We definitely saw the body and the face and like the actual shoulders and stuff like that. And yeah, I guess that's our experience. And as I was telling you also, I think what really saved us was kind of having the headlights, because I was thinking about it, you know, when you're looking at something and it's light and it's dark out, they can't really see your face, your body. So I'm thinking that's probably,
Especially with the fog,
with
it
the
would have
fog
made them like a lot bigger.
a lot bigger. Yeah, so that's what I think kind of honestly saved us, was having those lamps.
Mm-hmm. Definitely agree.
Yeah.
It might or might not come as a surprise, but nothing you had on you, nothing that you did saved you, because if that Dogman wanted to get you, you were God. But that's how it almost always plays out with these encounters. But I get it. Having an encounter like that, it's going to definitely get your motor running. It really will. When you two got back to class, did you tell all of your friends about your experience, or did you keep it to yourselves and not tell a soul?
We definitely did tell some of our friends, you know, like close friends.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they believed us or not, you know, that's up to them. And they seemed to, you know, like entertain the idea at least. You know, they weren't like, "All right, like you guys are crazy."
They definitely thought that we were joking around at first, because there were some other friends who meant to come on the trip with us but couldn't.
Yeah.
So they at first thought that we were just trying to make them like, "Oh, look we have this big old inside joke that you guys aren't in now." But I think slowly, like
I think now that we're like actually talking about it and stuff like that, like genuinely, like daily, they kind of realized that, you know, okay, like it's not a joke. But I think definitely at first when we got back and we're like, we saw something in the woods, they were like, okay, like, you know.
Yeah.
There's not taking you seriously, then there's you becoming a punchline, whether you realize you're a punchline or not. Did you ever get the feeling that you were a joke for coming forward and revealing that?
I felt like a joke for a long time. No, I'm kidding. But definitely at first it was like one of those things that, you know, I think they're fine with it. I think if they don't believe us, you know, that's their thing.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, if they don't and they make fun of us, you know, that's fine. You know, we don't need them to believe us. It's like, we know what we saw.
We were there, they weren't.
Yeah, and you know what? That's fine by us. You know, I don't need anyone's validation about this, I guess. I don't think Aiden needs either, so, you know.
That's a really good point. You two were there, they weren't. So if they didn't believe you, well, they're going to believe what they want to believe. And that's all there is to that. When you two walked up the hill to where you had that encounter, did you notice a lack of ambient noise other than hearing that large mass moving in the forest, like you told us about, Aiden?
Yeah, I definitely think it felt very still. Like, kind of like we had, as soon as the fog started, as soon as we started to really get up the steepness, it kind of felt like time had stopped, I guess, because when we were down there, it was the time of year where snow was melting, and so, you know, a lot of running water. But as we got up there, you couldn't even hear that. It was no frogs, even though pretty sure it was near a lake, near a pond, that kind of stuff. It was just silent at that point.
It was silent, so silent and foggy. That's a bad combo, really is.
Very eerie.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, I'd say.
Someone order a college degree program? There's a college in there? Hey, I just deliver life upgrades. Sign here.
Okay, what did I order? Campus. This is nice. I didn't know enrolling at campus came with perks like this.
Okay, campus.edu, I see you. Free laptop, fresh swag. This isn't just a college, this is a whole vibe.
And look at this. Campus's business professors also teach at top-ranked universities like Princeton and Stanford. And
Most of their business students haven't had to pay a dime in out-of-pocket tuition costs. Ready to unbox your future? Just apply today for free at campus.edu.
When she came running back to you, you brushed her off, Jake. Was that because you thought she didn't actually hear something, or because you thought what she had heard wasn't all that big of a deal?
To me, honestly, it was kind of me trying to save face and not act like I was a little scared too. Like I was trying to maybe like, okay, well if Aiden's scared and I'm scared, then like that's a bad combination. So I was trying to just kind of maybe like calm her down so I could calm myself down. But I definitely did think, she heard something, and if I'm gonna be honest. And then obviously, she was pretty adamant about it. Because I tried to brush it off and be like, maybe it was just like a little fox or something like that, kind of like scurrying around. And she was like, no, I know what I heard. And then I was like, all right, well, maybe. At first, I thought what it would have been was like a bear, because I have had a few experiences with bears, so that's what I thought it was at first. Come to find out,
It sure would have been awfully convenient if it was just a fox in the woods or something like that, but you've got to give her due. She's not babe in the woods. I mean, she's spent her fair share of time out there, so if she's telling you that, okay, I heard something big moving around out there, you've got to take that seriously. Now, when you're in the heat of the battle, I can understand why you wouldn't, because you're not thinking clearly, but with all of her woods cred, you have to take that seriously. Again, I don't fault you for not doing that, but I mean, when you've spent as much time out in the forest as she has, that definitely counts for something.
Yeah, I'll never underestimate like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you two are so revved up, and understandably so, your brains can start to pour out of your ears. That's understandable. You hadn't seen the Dogman yet, but I'm sure you were starting to ramp up when she came back to you, distressed like that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's understandable. When you saw the Dogman, you said it was about 10 to 15 feet from you.
Mm-hmm.
Was it standing still when you laid eyes on it first, or was it coming to a stop?
It was like coming to a stop, because it kind of like we look, and I would say like its body had just stopped kind of when we turned around, like kind of like
it was off balance.
Like off balance, like 1 foot forward, 1 foot kind of back, and kind of just then like stopped and stared at us when we turned around. I would say that's how I perceived it. And then when it kind of started to seem to take another step with the leg, or maybe the leg twist or something like that, that's when we kind of, like I said, we didn't even like say anything to each other, like like nudge each other or anything. We just both started running at the same time. We just knew what to do, I guess.
Well, that's understandable. Most people would have done that. When you turned around and took off, though, did you ever hear anything behind you, like it was coming after you?
I don't know. I don't think I heard anything, like, because I mean, obviously we were kind of running like out of breath, and like there was leaves and stuff like that, so we were already making our own noise, and I was not gonna look back and check or really like that. Could it have been running after us? I guess so, but honestly, if it was, I think it would have caught us.
Yeah.
It was definitely tall and big, and so I think if it was running after us, we wouldn't be here today talking to you.
Yeah, I also definitely think I remember seeing it, and then I remember being in the car. I don't think I remember in between.
Yeah.
Well, that's because your feet never hit the ground. So, it's understandable. It is. Were you religious before you saw that Dogman, Aiden?
I grew up around religion a lot, but I never like fully, we never like went to church or anything like that. I went to a Bible camp sometimes. The people that my family surrounded ourselves with were religious, but we didn't actively participate in religion.
How about when you were running for the car? Were you 10 times more religious then?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I'll bet. I don't doubt that at all. Did either of you have anything on you that could serve as a weapon?
Did we? I really don't think so, right? I mean, I had like a lighter, and maybe that's it could have started like a forest fire or something like that, but an actual weapon, I mean, other than maybe like a stick that we would have found, I don't think we really had anything. No knife, no nothing. Because obviously, we were pretty far away from the main town, but we were still pretty close to like society. So I didn't think there was any reason to take a weapon, you know, or like a little pocket knife or something like that. I don't think we even had ones. So, yeah.
Yeah, nothing you could have brought would have been all that impressive or effective anyway, so no big deal, no harm, no foul. Did you ever think about pulling out your phones to try to snap a photo?
Like I said, well, first off, definitely not. Like, I wasn't thinking about taking a photo, but also, like I said, if I wanted to, I was wearing, like, it was a cold day, I was wearing 2 coats, and my phone was inside the coat. So because I remember, like, when we got back into the car, and I was, like, checking for my phone, being like, oh my god, what if I, you know, lost it running? And then I remember it was, like, inside my coat. So even if I wanted to, I don't think it would have been the most strategic thing to take it out and take a photo.
Yeah, and I, growing up there and growing up at the camp that I did after, it was a lot of no technology, and so whenever I go back, I try to relive that, and so I had actually left my phone in the car.
Well, even if you had it on you, I don't think you would have pulled it out to snap a photo. Heard a good example about a year ago. This guy was on a podcast, and like he said, if you put somebody into a cage with a lion, don't be surprised if when they come out, they don't have a photo of the lion. That's going to be the last thing you think about, so totally understandable. It really is. Now, as this Dogman was standing there 10 to 15 feet from you, was it stock still, or was it still, when we stand still, normally we move a little bit at least. Did you notice it twitching its ears? Was it almost repositioning a little bit as it stood there? Or, like I said, was it stock still?
Definitely, it definitely wasn't, you know, like, I would say pretty still, but there was kind of like that human sort of like twitching, kind of like repositioning, maybe I would say. I don't know how to describe it, but like kind of like also because we could see the top of the chest, so we could see kind of like a up and down from the chest, like breathing, stuff like that. So it definitely, I mean, yeah, it was alive.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all. So if you could see it clearly enough to see that it was breathing, did it look slightly winded, like it had been running, or was it breathing like it wasn't out of breath?
No, it was, I would say, slow. It definitely kind of wasn't like a, it was more kind of just like a slow, like kind of puff. And
I would say at first it even seemed like it was kind of holding its breath.
Well, that's interesting. Wonder what that was all about. It clearly wasn't afraid of you, so wonder why it was doing that. But then again, you can't think for these things any more than you can think for a person. So who knows? We never will know. Now, you said it looked curious as it was standing there staring at you. Sometimes when people have encounters like yours, they notice the Dogman kind of transitioning from emotion to emotion to emotion. Maybe curiosity at first, and then something else, and then anger, and then maybe switching on to something else again. Was curiosity all that you saw, or did you notice any transitions?
I don't know if curiosity is the best word to put it as. I just wouldn't say that it looked at us like nefariously or something like that. Like at first, because if I, you know, would have seen something and it was like, you know, showing its teeth and looking like it's growling at us, I would have instantly, you know, ran away, and I think Aiden would have done the same. But kind of, you know, it was kind of like when you catch anything kind of off guard, kind of that look and kind of stand still, kind of like that stand still sort of moment whenever you kind of catch somebody off guard.
When you deliver with DoorDash, you get to choose when you do it and when you don't.
Okay, I think I'll do it now.
Now works, yeah. But if it doesn't, you can also set your schedule around your other commitments.
Good. because I have a lot of those.
Tell me about it. So whenever it works well for you, you can make a few extra bucks.
I guess I do have an hour to kill.
And when earnings on your time, you can enjoy more quality time.
I really enjoyed this book.
Make money on your time. DoorDash. Sign up today.
I've been a trainer for 13 years, and I train about 13 to 15 drivers a year. It's a great company. It's a company that I feel like that gives back to people. Western can help guys develop their skills.
I love being a trainer here. That's what gives meaning to what I do, as far as I'm concerned. A lot of these guys still call me today. You know, I'm friends with most of them, and I was the one that gave them the patience and the motivation, helped them to the next level, and that gives me pride.
That's how I would put it. And then, yeah, after, I would say, you know, like maybe the minute we were there, kind of just like watching it, maybe, you know, it could have been just, like, you know, 30 seconds or something like that, maybe even less. Yeah, I would say we were kind of just in that sort of standstill type of moment. And then when we started to see it maybe move its leg or twitch, that's when we started running.
Those must have been the longest 30 seconds of your lives. Holy cow.
Like I said, it definitely felt like maybe a minute or two, but, you know, looking back, it could have honestly been, yeah, just 30 seconds or something like that, because, you know, our hearts were definitely pounding. Like, I remember hearing my heart kind of, like, in my ears, like, you know, hearing it pound, and kind of can feel it, like, in your chest.
Oh, I'll bet. Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. Understandably so, too. You said it didn't bare its teeth, it didn't growl at you, but what was it doing with its ears? Were its ears standing straight up, or did it have them pinned?
I would say pinned. Yeah, I feel like they were pretty down. Like, we could see the top, like maybe the tops of the ears, but I wouldn't say they were straight up. I mean, I don't know how, obviously this is our first encounter, I don't know how big the ears are in general, but I guess they were a little bit down.
Huh, I see. That's interesting. Did it ever make any sounds? You said it didn't growl, but they can make other vocalizations.
There was definitely that, as we went on, like, heavy breathing sort of sound. And kind of like hearing how, I don't know how to phrase it exactly, like how big its like diaphragm was, how like much breath it could take in, and kind of like that grumble that came out with a breath.
You two deserve a lot of credit for noticing everything you did. I mean, when you're standing there and your brains turn to mush, and understandably so, because here's a dogman in front of you that's not supposed to even be in existence, you deserve a lot of credit for noticing everything that you did. I'm impressed.
I mean, it's definitely kind of one of those things that once it happens, you're thinking about it every day.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not even gonna lie to you, I actually had a dream a few days ago that I was back there up on the hill, but I was without Aiden. And in the dream, like, I remember everything perfectly, but I was just without Aiden. And in the dream, it actually started running after me, like almost like ready to attack. So it was very different. And I was thinking how you were saying it's almost like sometimes there can be a spiritual type of dogman. So I was wondering if that was kind of me seeing what would have happened in another sort of scenario.
Well, thank goodness that didn't happen to you two in real life. Aiden, it sounds like Jake has had at least one nightmare about Dogman. How about you? Did you have any nightmares after that experience?
I would definitely say the first night after I did. You know, we were in my childhood home, and I was in my bedroom, and Jake was in my sister's room. And so I was like alone, and my cat had come in the room and jumped up on my bed. And in the moment when that kind of had woken me up, I was like kind of straight up panic about it. And you know, she's done that tens of times. She's a cat, she wants to come with her human. But I never felt like that kind of like fear, and I was convinced that it was back in my room with me. And then I realized it was my cat, I calmed down, and then later on in the night I had fallen back asleep, and she wanted to leave my room, and I heard her scratching at my door, and I was like, oh, like, it's like, it's here, it's back.
No.
And then I heard my cat's meow, and I realized that things were okay again.
Thank goodness. Yeah, I bet that did get you revved up.
Yeah.
While it was standing there looking at you two, what was it doing with its arms?
I would say they're pretty down by its side. Like I said, there was the fog, so it wasn't that we could see super clearly, but we could definitely see an outline of the arms and the legs and like a gap between the thighs. But could I release? I was honestly more looking outside its face. I would say like locked eyes in. I do remember, like I said, I think earlier, the kind of thing how they were like almost a lighter color, but also that could have been because we were shining kind of the light in its face. But I kind of just remember having eyes just locking on its eyes, seeing like, you know, what's it's gonna do next.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you handled that how pretty much anyone in that situation would have, so that's understandable. You probably don't know the answer to this question either. This is a question I've never asked anyone on the show before. Some dogmen have torsos that are deeper front to back than their shoulders are wide. Most of them are the other way. Their shoulders are definitely wider than their chests are deep. Which category did this one fit into, if you even saw it well enough to notice that, or even if you did have the ability to notice it but didn't notice it? That's understandable.
We saw it from the front, I would definitely say it had wide shoulders.
Yeah.
Wide shoulders.
Very.
Because, yeah, that's the part that we could see the best, like I said, was the shoulders in the beginning of its chest sort of area, and maybe a little bit of the forearm.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was, but I remember, yeah, very kind of wide, broad shoulders and a little bit of a broader back.
And I said it's definitely like the key thing that when we had finally started talking in the car that we kept pointing out, because whenever either of us would be like, oh, but it could have been a wolf, we'd be like,
but it has like
wolves are not
shoulders,
built like
you know,
that.
it actually has like, yeah, real sort of shoulders. and
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
Man, I can only imagine the thoughts that must have been going through your heads when you're standing there looking at this thing. Now, as you're observing this dogman standing there, did you notice any resemblance to any creatures that you already knew? Did it have any features that reminded you of a hyena? Any features that reminded you of just a typical timber wolf or anything else like that? Or did it just look monstrous and didn't really have a resemblance to any known animals?
I would say, now that you said it, less like a wolf and more like almost hyena-ish, or kind of like dog-like, like a big dog, sort of, you know, because I feel like wolves have a little bit of a thicker hair, sort of mane back at the back of its head. I would say this didn't really have that. It didn't really have like the tufts of hair. I feel like it was a little bit shorter from, you know, what I can just recollect in my mind of like how a hyena has almost shorter hair, and same as kind of like a dog. But now that you said hyena, I think that fits.
Especially with like the arch kind of thing.
So it did resemble